currency, but that all, let's just call it peer-to-peer or other transactions would begin to take place in crypto. It was very interesting to see the range of responses related to that. Do you have any wagers or guesses as to if you had to characterize the type of country or the country that would embrace digital currencies in a very powerful way? Do you have any thoughts on where that might land?
Yeah, do you mean the people or the government? Like, because I think that's different. I think the populace.
Both.
Oh, interesting. Well, the populace, I think it's what you've mentioned. You mentioned Venezuela and Zimbabwe, and of course, any economy where there's been hyperinflation, people are searching for an alternative. I mean, I know exactly the trillion or zillion dollar note you're talking about. I mean, I've seen them before. And Venezuela, I've actually seen videos. They'll pull this up on YouTube. People literally burn bags of cash because there has no value, and it takes up too much room. I mean, it's really tragic. So I think for the populace, any economy where there's hyperinflation, I think we're going to see that. And then in terms of for governments, I mean, you see some small, I think the smaller, nimble governments will possibly beat us to the punch, us being the U.S., and I'll come back to that. But, you talk about digitally first governments, like think about Estonia or some of the,
Estonia I'm very interested in following. I think they have to be thinking very deeply and tracking this very closely.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's also like an industry, like Delaware is like the haven for corporate law in the U.S. Every like companies at Delaware. To me, I wonder like what jurisdiction is going to attract a lot of, frankly, economic development by being, welcome and open to this. I think that'll be interesting. I'm curious to ask you, your listeners, what surprised you most in the response? Like you mentioned Venezuela, that's not a surprise. Zimbabwe. Was there anyone, Tim, that stood out that surprised like you?
Well, I think that surprise. I mean, I think the response that came in multiple times that I wanted to reflect on, and I should say also, I am not by any stretch of the imagination, I do not consider myself a cryptocurrency nor blockchain expert in any respect. I mean, that would just be laughable if I were to sit down at a group dinner with anyone who is actually on the computer side of this, who understands these things in detail, like a Vitalik, or there's a long list, right?
Yep.
Now, that having been said, I am a student of currency and the concept of money, right? Just the origins of money. I remember reading a book called, I believe it was The Biography of a Dollar, which was written a long time ago. And that I found really to be a helpful one-on-one education on the emergence of money and the decoupling or